right, welcome back. Wow, what a journey. We are in the last session of TechCon 2025. This is Andy Harmon. It's been a pleasure to host the app development and runtimes track. By now, this is probably beating a dead horse, but please, if you have questions to ask, throw those in the chat. We'll be monitoring those throughout the session. We want to hear from you guys. We want this to be interactive, and in addition to the chat, immediately following this session, we will have our office hours where you can join and come off of mute and talk live with the speakers from throughout the day. Speaking of journey and the journey that we've had this week, we have saved one of our best sessions for the last. In just a moment, I'm going to hand over to Jay to talk about our modernization journey at scale with our own IBM CIO office. So without further ado, Jay, let me turn it over to you and take us into our last session of TechCon 2025.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody on the call. I'm Jay Talekar. I'm engineering leader for application modernization for IBM CIO. My current focus is how we can leverage GenAI and automation at scale to drive modernization use cases. I have Biswajit Roy here with me today to assist with the presentation and help me to answer the questions on the chat. So with that, in today's session, we'll be talking about how CIO manage the modernization journey. We'll explore the path, challenges, strategy for driving modernization at scale. We're going to do a deep dive into J2E application modernization, followed by a demo. But at the end, to conclude, I'm going to show how GenAI technologies are helping with maintaining large legacy applications. So with that, let's dive in. This is my favorite slide. If you have to go from point A to point B, drive from point A to point B, and you need to reach there faster. So what do you need? You need better roads, you need faster cars, and you need responsible drivers. The cloud transformation has already provided those better roads or wider roads for us. But think about it, if you have a slower car, you won't be able to reach faster. So what you need is, by modernizing an application, we can realize the benefits of the cloud and move faster. But also you need a good responsible driver, which is nothing but your strategy and execution to do this. In a nutshell, the application modernization is a journey from your on-prem application to cloud native application. So let's look into it, what's our challenge first? In IBM CIO, we have used every shift in the technology to our advantage, whether it's 80s mainframe, 2000s Java, or current Node.js, Python, GenAI technologies. We have thousands of enterprise apps with almost 80,000 compute images, whether it's containers, VMs, classic servers, etc. We are the backbone of IBM company. We manage accounting, billing, HR, and a lot of other critical applications. Some of these applications were developed a decade ago or more than a decade ago, and they have started showing their age. So as is migration to the cloud, we saw the early benefits like cost reduction and scalability. But applications which are designed and developed for on-prem environments fail to provide the business agility, higher availability, or better performance. And that shows in our quarterly surveys. Every quarter, we do surveys with our developers. And what we have seen is our developers report that 30% of their time spent on the tasks which are unproductive, manual, and repetitive. That complexity comes with its own challenges. Many large enterprises like us, they have legacy application which supports critical business functions, but they have outdated, inflexible code bases which are screaming to be modernized. Developers who are supporting these applications today, it may be possible that they did not write those code or those code bases. So the next phase in the cloud transformation journey is to optimize and operate more efficiently, enabled by hybrid cloud strategy. Modernizing an application to be more cloud native is the key to achieve cost efficient agility, increase resiliency, but most importantly, improving developer productivity and innovation. So with that, let's see how we have done it. The CIO modernization journey began with an assessment of our IT portfolio, focusing on as is discovery of applications on their existing platforms, what are their technology stack, but also looking into their business criticality and user pain points. This analysis helped us to decide whether we wanna retain this application, rehost, replatform, or refactor. For the business applications, which will remain in our portfolio, I think those are the best candidates for modernization. The expansive or a big bang modernization is always time consuming and costly. So in our approach, we start with we have three-phased approach here. We start with assessment, then we do runtime/operational modernization. This is basically hey, you may have a different technology stack. You're running on traditional WebSphere, but the latest version is WebSphere Liberty. So we do that runtime operation, like getting from legacy version of a runtime to a latest version of the runtime. The operational modernization, which is clubbed here, is talking about taking your on-prem environments to the container technology. So that's our first step. Now, moving to the last step, architectural modernization. Now here, this is a non-invasive approach. Like here, we are going to dissect the application, refactoring the monolithic application to individually deployable and scalable microservice. That's the goal here. But when I'm talking about an application, I'm also adding data to be part of the application, or any other infrastructure like your message queues are part of the application, because that's the whole application. So moving on to like a deeper dive on Java. So you may have seen this, this is your typical, very generic J2E application. This architecture is characterized by a single self-contained unit, which has all the components, all the functionality bundled together. It has a tightly coupled design where components are heavily interdependent. So for example, if you have a simple change, a simple UI change needed, you may be ending up changing everything in this particular architecture, which takes more time. So with this, I'm going to talk about the first tool, or the modernization accelerator, which we use for J2E modernization. So as I said, our journey begins with an assessment. So I'm talking about a tool here, Application Modernization Accelerator. I may refer to as AMA in my future talk here. So it's a part of Enterprise Application Service for Java, which is our offering, which is available in a slightly more than tech preview, but in a different mode there. So AMA, what it does is it simplifies and automates the containerization of Java application from traditional app servers like WebSphere, WebLogic, Tomcat to WebSphere or OpenLiberty. Okay, what this assessment contains, right? And I'm going to go give a demo on this. It tells you how much time it will take to move from these traditional app servers to the new app servers. It will give you a detailed issue list, along with some assistance, which I'll show you during my demo. So as my talk is about how did we scale it? Because yes, you have a tool, but think about it every application squad or every application team installing it in their environments is going to be time consuming. So what we did, we leveraged Ansible to automate the discovery tool for AMA. We created an Ansible playbook and we ran it on more than 174 WebSphere instances over the weekend. What it did is it created the data collection, which I'll show you in some time, as a zip file and put it in a Git. And then every application squad could use that Git repo to analyze their application. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the automation which will help you to scale these modernization accelerators across your organization. So moving on. So this is where I'm talking about a little bit on the overall approach, or a IBM Enterprise Application Service for Java. So as I said, we start with the analyzing your traditional WebSphere. AMA today can analyze your application servers, also your databases. Then we'll show you the detailed analysis of your application on the screen in the UI. After that, we download, we call it a migration plan. A migration plan contains the needed artifacts to use WCA and fix your code and then modernize to Liberty. So that's the overall journey. So without further ado, let's see the demo. I'm switching to my Chrome here. So this is the user interface for AMA. First thing what you will do here is you will create a workspace, just give it a workspace name, and it will be available to you. I'm going to click cancel here. I have already created one for this demo. So let's look into the TechCon workspace. Okay, so this is your first page where you can click on the Open Discovery tool. This discovery tool is available on all platforms. So you're covered here, right? You can actually download this tool and then run it on your traditional WebSphere. On most of the time, depending on your network, this particular tool will upload the result back to AMA. But in case, because of the network constraints, again, there is an opportunity to manually upload the analysis here. So let me show you one of our critical application. It's called GCMS. GCMS is developed around 15 to 16 years back. It has a typical J2E architecture. It uses WebSphere application server, a traditional WebSphere 8.5. It has connection to like DB2 databases, and it has also connections to 9 or more queues in this architecture. So I want to spend a little bit time here. This visual analysis is what you will get right out of the product, and it shows the complexity of your application in a sense that in this, I know that I have 2 applications deployed on this particular server. I have almost like 6 databases which I need to migrate, along with probably 2 or 3 queue managers spanning across 15 queues. So that shows the complexity right away, what it is. Now I'm gonna go into the detail for one of the application. Just give it a minute. As I was talking about earlier, it clearly shows the development cost, like this much time it will take for replatforming your code from traditional WebSphere to WebSphere Liberty. It also shows that how many critical issues you have, how many warnings, and how many informational. It shows you the complexity of the application. And also, because I was doing it for 2 applications, it has a one common code file. Scrolling down, as you can see, it shows you again this particular view. It shows you different databases and other stuff like where it is. It shows you what's the server name, what's the port number, all those good details which you're looking for. And then at the end, as I said, this is partly automated, and which I'll show you how it works in what's the next code assistant. But most importantly, if you come here, you will see the technology issues along with their complexity and how much time it will take for fixing it. It also gives you some guidance on where this particular issue is. It shows you the file, line numbers, and whatnot. You know what? But one other important thing which I like is you can click on the technology report, and this particular technology reports shows you what you have. In this one, as I said, we have 1 var file, 3 EJBs, and 210 jar files. Wow, right? So, and those everything, all those detailed components are listed here. Okay. And it also shows you like what do you have? You have Java servlets, you have JSPs, you have message-driven bins. All those things are shown very clearly so that you can do this analysis like much faster. I'm going back to this page. Before jumping on to WCA and downloading the migration plan, I quickly want to show you one more thing here about the databases. So as I said, like AMA can analyze your databases, and we have done one for our application here. And it has a very similar features. Like, you may have seen that my application is medium complex to replatform, but my database is not. I have one big issue where my stored procedures need to be needs to be migrated to a different technology. Some of these features, there is a C-based stored procedures, which I need to move. So very similarly, you can use this analysis for your databases as well. So with that, let me go back and download the actual migration plan. Give me a minute. And I'm doing this a live demo. So let me quickly talk about the migration plan, like what it contains. Let me download it first, and then I'll talk about it. So this migration plan contains a different deployment artifact like server.xml, which is needed for WebSphere Liberty. It also contains a container file. A lot of you call it a Docker file, maybe, so you can containerize your application. It tells you like what are your jar dependencies which you need to externalize. But most importantly, and I'll show it to you during my demo, it gives you a list of issues which you can fix. And we'll see it live on WCA, how WCA helps to fix these issues. Okay. As I said, like, this is the WCA or a Watson Code Assistant extension in VS Code. And you may have seen this tool, but just like any other code assistants, we have a conversational interface where you can ask questions. This is our main panel on the on the code editor. And to start, what you need to do is you can just right click and click on this Modernize to Liberty option, which I have already clicked, and I'm ready to upload my migration bundle. Okay. Let me go to my downloads folder and upload this. It takes few seconds to upload this file, but this particular panel will guide you through the next steps. Okay, as I said, it has two files, server.xml and container file. You can choose whichever you want to migrate it to or move it to your code base. I already have a container file, so I'm just choosing server.xml. Clicking on proceed, it will show you the list of jars which you need to externalize, and these are dependencies for your application. So we'll just click proceed here. And this is what I was talking about, so for now, for this particular instance, what we're doing is we are migrating from IBM Application Server v.9 to Enterprise Application Service for Java, which has WebSphere Liberty, DB2, and MQ available. For now, we'll keep the Java version as is. We don't want to change too many variables in this equation. Okay, so as you can see, I was talking about you have automated fixes, assisted fixes, and self-directed fixes. Today, I'm not going to click on a run automated fixes, but when you click on this particular button, we have automated recipes, which will use your build system like Maven or Gradle to rebuild the application and update this identified issue, to change the default initial context. For my demo, I'm going to show you something very cool, how we are using GenAI technologies or Watson X Code assistants today. So we have been notified that one of the WebSphere API is superseded by newer implementation, and it's available on this particular file, which I have already opened here. So when I see this, there is a method encode string, which is not there. So what I'm going to do next? Like, let's say if I'm a developer, first I'll do is, oh, I need a different library to do this. WebSphere response util is not available. I'll search on it, internet or documentation to find what's the what's the compatible library, or is there any open source. I'll spend, let's say, half an hour on that. Then I learn about the library, which class, which method I'm going to use, and then I'll come and start writing the code. But now look at this. When I click this help me button and look at the leftmost section in this one, we have pre-curated prompt for it, which is going to our watsonx code assistant model, our Granite models. And within like a second, I get a compatible code here, right? And this is using, I think, Apache Common Text Library. So you can just say like, I want to do this. I'm going to put like, a comment here. Let me copy the code. I commented my original file. Let me do that. Let me save it. And then it also tells me in order to add this dependency of string except utils, I need to add, like, update my Maven file and add the dependency for it. I have already added it for the demo, so it's there. Now, yes, we were able to do it in less than a minute to get this file. It's a very simple method. But now let's see what is the next capability. I have this. Now we have this in context unit test button, which I'm going to click now. It takes like a few seconds to generate a unit test. And I'm going to click on proceed without analysis for now. So give it a minute or so, and you will see a test case being generated here. I'm just like making it a little bit larger so that you can see it. But this is what I call the Gen AI way of development. Like, yes, I have a deprecated library. WCA was able to tell me what's the library which I can use. It gave me the code for it. It gave me the build thing for it. And within on a click of a button, I have my unit test ready, which I can use to test this particular code. I mean, this is the power of watsonx code assistants. So this is my first demo, and I think we are doing great on time. So before I talk about the benefits of modernization and talk about this one, Biswa, do we have any interesting question in the chat?
Yeah, there's a question that whether we should, do TWAS to EasyJ migration first, or do Java upgrade at the same time.
That's a very good question, right? Sometimes it may happen that in order to use the latest technologies like Jakarta EE or moving from J2EE6 to J2EE7, you may need to do an upgrade first. So Java 8 to Java 11, but then you can do your replatforming. So I would say do it in phases. Whatever you choose to do based on your technology stack. First, in our experience, what we have done is we have migrated from WebSphere traditional to Open Liberty or WebSphere Liberty first, and then we did the version upgrade from 8 to 11 to 17 to 21 based on what you have today. Okay, so in a runtime or a platform modernization, the phase I talked about, I think we'll try to keep it we'll use non-invasive approach where we will not change a lot of the code, but what we'll do is we'll change the deployment artifacts. Okay, so now we'll take more questions at the end, and we'll talk about now, how much time savings and other things what we have seen. The GCMS, the application which I demoed a year back, one of our architects was planning to modernize this, and In his opinion, it would have taken 120 hours for the analysis which I showed you on application modernization accelerator. But with the application modernization accelerator and a discovery tool, we were able to do it in a less than an hour. So that's the 120 hours of savings right there, almost 99%. In CIO, we have modernized almost 200 applications from legacy Java stack to newer Java stack. And in our experience, it takes somewhere around 12 weeks to do this for a mid-size application. And with a combination of AMA and WCA, I mean, what we are seeing is we are able to save 7 to 8 weeks already. And with the EasyJ tooling, like migrating to cloud, I think, we'll be able to do this, the whole replatforming in 3 weeks. So that's like 12 weeks to 3 weeks, almost more than 75% effort reductions. And, we have 50 more applications in CIO which we need to modernize. I mean, if you look at it, it's almost like 9% year projected savings from EasyJ. I mean, that's the power of like automation and AI together. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go into detailed analysis of architectural modernization. So remember my first chart where I was showing the tightly coupled monolithic application. So I think the first thing what we do in CIO is we decouple front end from back end. And I'm showing it simply on my first chart here, where like, hey, I have older technologies like struts, JSPs, and everything. What I'm doing is instead of passing objects between front end and back end, I convert those objects into JSON and pass JSON. And those BFF services, I call it backend for front-end services, helps us to do that. So like converting an object to JSON, and then on the other side, I'm calling transitional services, which convert the JSON back to the objects, and then could call your session beans, entity beans, or whatever you have, like, servlets as well. Like why we are doing this, right? It's very important, like, this way we can actually consider two things at one time, right? Some people want to do UI modernization first. Some people want to convert into microservices. So with this particular approach, we are able to do that. In IBM CIO, most of the time we decide to like do UI modernization first, like, because our end users see a lot of value in that. So rather than having that clunky experience, like, on the legacy application, they always prefer like, a smooth experience, like rather than waiting on that loading symbol. If you can have an event-driven architecture where you can tell them like, hey, your request is queued and, check back later. They like that kind of experience. So what we do in CIO is like, we modernize the UI to the modern UI frameworks like React or Angular or Vue.js. We run it on its own Nginx container, whereas our backend partition is still running on WebSphere Liberty or Open Liberty. So this is the first journey. On the architectural modernization, going next is like how we can break that monolith into microservices. And here I'm talking about another modernization accelerator called IBM Mono to Micro. IBM Mono to Micro is an AI tool which is already available as a product on IBM.com. What it does is, it uses AI to find the seams in your applications or find those partitions. So for example, like, you have an e-commerce application, you may have inventory module, order module, customer module, or shopping cart module. It analyzes the application both statically, in a sense that it's going to go through your code and try to find the static partitions, but it also has instrumentation APIs, like, which can dynamically analyze your runtime, look at your transaction. Of course, like, it's not on production. You need to test it. Like, you need to give the test environment for this instrumentation. And based on static and dynamic analysis, it gives you these different microservices. Okay, so it's a little bit complex tool in my opinion, but once you set it up and once you get going for a few applications, I think you will get used to how the tool works. And most of the time, it, in my opinion, it uh, it predicts 60 to 70% of microservices correctly. Yes, there is some nuance of common utility modules which are shared in the monolithic, but you may need copies of it. And that's where we think about how we can convert them into jar files, put it on an Artifactory or Maven Central, and then use it as a dependencies in an application. But architectural modernization is really, really important because once you do this, you have a modern architecture which will help you to do things faster. And let's see what we have seen in CIO here. So by simplifying and modernizing our architecture, developers could focus on high value tasks, not doing those tightly coupled code changes. So what we have seen is 50% reduction in technical debt, and reducing technical debt enables us to deliver more reliable or stable products, and this improves the overall customer experience as well. So once we modernize, our NPS score goes up. What we have seen is most of the applications got 10% or more, in some cases 30-40% as well, quality of service improvements. And again, when I say about application, I mean not just Java application, but your databases, your queues, or whatever the other offerings you have. Now, talking about the cost efficiency, what we have seen is yes, the cloud, the first lift and shift to cloud gave us that 34-40% efficiency. But when you modernize, you will modernize to containers, right? You will get that another 25% cost reduction. And the modernization accelerator, which I was talking about, like EZJ, AMA, WCA, mono to micro, this will give you more than 40% effort savings, right? Easily. I told you about just the replatforming. We are already seeing 75% time reduction there. Okay. Now the last part here, which is my favorite part, innovation, right? So basically, when we modernize the application, there is our chance to use latest product. For example, you may have a SQL database, which was created 15 years back. That time, NoSQL technologies did not even exist, right? So this gives us opportunity to think about, okay, is my application really needs a SQL database, or it will be more efficient with a NoSQL database? So it gives you that opportunity to do this. And it's basically innovating faster and making sure that our applications are future-proof. So last but not least, because this is my talk on the app modernization before I move to GenAI stuff. So modernization is the key to unlocking endless innovation and a future-proof tomorrow. Remember, I started on my first slide where I talked about traveling from point A to point B faster. But think about this, another similar analogy, for a pizza delivery, you don't need a truck. What you need is a scooter or a bike. That's the way you can deliver much more faster. It's the same thing like that. Modernization gives that avenue to look into your technology stack and choose the right technologies. And I always call it it's an opportunity for going from bloated VMs to elastic containers. And that's what we have done in CIO, IBM CIO. So I think we are doing good on time. So Visu, I can take one or two more questions here.
No further questions yet.
Okay. So now let's switch gear to the hottest topic in the industry. How can I use GenAI code assistant technologies to accelerate app modernization? Okay. So a little bit of like, as I said, like in CIO, we have thousands of applications, thousands of developers working on it. And developers were often supporting the applications they did not write. In case of legacy code, this challenge is often amplified if there are large skill gaps to bridge. It's not easy to maintain large quantity of code and continually provide new features and applications, especially now like how rapidly technology is evolving. Many of these code bases have little documentation, outdated unit test, and that's the problem we are trying to solve with Watson X for Code using Watson X Code Assistant APIs. I gave you the demo of Watson X Code Assistant APIs. So what's the difference between the two? In a Watson X Code Assistant, you are opening a file and you're working on, let's say, 2 or 3 files, right? And every time you need to click explain unit test or a prompt to a file. So what we are doing different for Watson X for Code is like, it's an AI-enabled capability to process code at a repo level. So we can do multiple repos within no time, first for a code summary and unit testing. We also have a new feature which we released last week only that will give you a list of to-dos for your application. We can do pull request reviews, code reviews, and give you code fixes along with the integration to Jira. But most importantly, when we are doing this, we can detect the patterns for future standardization. If you remember 2 years back in the Java world, there was a big Log4j vulnerability, and it was during Christmas time, and everybody was called on duty to fix that. So if something like that happens, right, all this analysis would help us to find, oh, I have log4j.jar in 200 applications, and this is how it's being used. Now think about it. If we can create a AI-based code snippet to do things at scale and replace it. I mean, that's the that's the efficiency, or that's the scale what I'm talking about. You could actually have a data-driven decision making. Let's say, for example, you have particular vulnerability, it's across 100 or more applications. You can use GenAI to do the code fixes at scale. On the side, I'm just talking about architecture of this. So Watson X for Code integrates with your GitHub repo. First step, what we do is we clone the repo in a container. We validate the repo. In a validation phase, we check for what are the programming languages used. I'm able to run your CI/CD pipeline or not. What's your existing test coverage? How much code to comment ratio you have? And then based on that, after doing that validation, we go file by file, method by method, and then process it to generate unit test cases, generate summary, generate to-do list to using WCA APIs. Okay. And we are using abstract syntax tree as the base technology to go through the files. Okay. Last but not least, I talked about the identifying the patterns for future, standardization here. So we chunk and vectorize that code and save it in the vector database along with its natural language intent. For example, hey, here I'm uploading a file to a particular folder. So we do that. So there is a natural language or English intent along with the code, and where is the GitHub? What's the GitHub repo? What's the code? What's the line? We save all those things. I mean, this particular approach will help us with the future data-driven decision making. Before I show you the demo, just one disclaimer here. Watson X for Code is currently available for our internal consumption only, and Watson X Code Assistant product team is looking into how we can, put this capabilities and features into product. So I'm going to go into the demo right away because you will be amazed to see what the results are. Okay. So this is our page, and I'm going to click on the process repo. The process repo has a very simple interface. It takes, your repository URL, and let me just copy it from my other screen here. I'm just copying it here. Okay, it's a valid repo. I'm just going to put my EAL number. This is like something very IBM specific. It uniquely identifies a particular application, and it's used for IMDb purposes. So I'm just going to say like timesheet. And this is all test code. So like, that's fine. Here we have an option to like use WC at IBM, or we can use Granite models as well. And during this time, what we'll do is I'm selecting all the features, like we want inline comments, file summaries, app summaries, unit test, to-do list, and along with the error report. I need to provide an additional Java setting here. This needs a 21. So I'm going to select that, and I just click submit. Okay. Now, in a quick minute here, like, you will see that it's already queued, and, it'll update the status here, like, on what's happening. I'm just looking for like, one quick update here. Yeah, this is good. So as you can see here, we are doing cloning, we're generating unit tests and all these things. And ultimately, I forgot to tell you one thing. What this tool does is it creates a pull request for developer to review. We want a developer, like, in the play here. Developer is the control, is the one who will go through these changes and actually, accept or delete or even merge the pull request. So developer is in the control here. As I was talking about, like, this is almost like few files, 75, 100 files. We're gonna finish in 21 minutes. Okay, so to save time, what I have done is I have already, like, one pull request which I ran like 2 hours ago, and I'm going to show you how the pull request looks like and what we have done. Let me make this into nicer mode. So with every pull request, we provide this, like, how much time it took, how many tokens we used, and we have few metrics, like, which we are tracking right at the pull request level. Like, what was your code to document ratio before, like code to comment ratio, and it was 6.38 in this case. But like after we generated comments, it's almost 31.46. The industry standard, or like that's what we call, like, 25% is the standard code to comment ratio. You need like one comment per 4 lines, and we have to tell the model to do not do it at every line. So we do it at the method level, or sometimes if there is a complex algorithm, we do this at that particular block level. Okay. We also track, like, how many files were generated by the tool, and then how many files we needed to delete because they were not compiling or they have some other issues. As you know, AI is non-deterministic. You're not going to get the perfect output in the first go. So as you can see here, like, our tool generated 39 unit test cases. Out of those, 13 were not passing. And so we deleted those and we saved 26 files. I mean, that's the power here. Like, you can see that. Now, we not only do that, let me show you, like, actually another cool feature. Like, while we do this, we generate a to-do list. This to-do list contains, like, hey, there is a problem here, and what's the priority or criticality of the issue, the one being like the most critical to 5 being low critical. And as you can see, and this is like a test code, so we purposely injected a lot of issues here. So, like, there are null check missing, there is a resource management issue here, like, it's not being closed. But my favorite one somewhere in this is the SQL injection. The last one here, SQL injection risk, right? So this is on purpose, like, but I wanted to show you what GenAI or WCA could do for you. Like, I'm going to skip the error report without providing anything. it's able to detect like, what this particular file is. We add the comments on the top, like, yes, it's a Spring Boot application, it is so and so details, and that happens for every Java code here, which I'm talking about. And then at the end, like, somewhere here, you can see the test cases generated as well. And some of it is generated with Makito, or the, mocking the servlet request and other things. Okay. So overall, what we have seen, like, I mean, just to summarize, like, summarize the results here. It takes somewhere around 3 hours to analyze 1,000 files. What we have seen is 25% to 60% code to comment ratios. Unit test coverage varies from like, somewhere around 14% to 60, 70%. But most importantly, like, developers are not doing it. It's happening in the batch mode, and they're getting all these results, right? So think about it like in going in watsonx Code Assistant and clicking unit tests and generating all these things. Everything is done for you like at once, like, once in this one. Okay. So this is what the analyze your repo does. And now I'm going to show you another cool feature here. So I'm just going to go back to this one, and I'm going to talk about a little bit on the pull request review. So in IBM, we use Jira as our track and plan, like, track and plan tool. And, we create a Jira story. Developer take that Jira story and work on it. They do a coding on it, and then they create a pull request review. So this is the sample Jira story, which I'm showing you here. Like, and you can see that it's a very simple, like, hey, I want to make sure that I have, try and accept in every call. I want to have beautiful logging. I want to have unit tests. I want to generate a documentation in a doc strings, and like, do some more here. Okay. So developer writes the code, and he creates a pull request for this. So normally in a developer flow, like, a developer will request a review from his peer or from his tech lead to go through the code and, tell him, like, what things needs to be improved, or what things are good or bad, things like that. So we are using GenAI to do the code reviews here. Okay. So we are using dynamic prompts to, like, detect logging. If you have adequate logging in your code, you are handling exceptions. We are detecting common vulnerabilities, like, some of the file handling vulnerabilities, SQL injection, and all these things. And so, rather than talking, let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click here. I need that EAL number. Is here. So we found it, and I request a review. Give us a few seconds here, and then look at this PR, like what's happening live. Okay. So first we put, like, yes, we added a label here, and we are doing good on time, so we can actually see it happening live on the GitHub pull request. So yes, it started. So as I said, like, for this, and this is I would say, like, it has, this is a test repo. This is not a real code. So we have Python, we have Java, we have all kinds of, like, polyglot repo here. So as I said, we check for logging, we check for exception handling, file encoding handling, some process security, some of these things, duplicate code, which is a problem for all of us, like, for large organization, there is a lot of code duplication, which is happening. So we do all these things. And since this topic is on Java, again, like, on this particular code, it detected that, like, hey, you haven't closed any of your resources. So it not only tells you, like, you need to do that, but it also gives you a sample code, like, if you want to try to copy it. But I'm going to show you some cool feature. Let this go on, right? Let it finish. So as I said, we have Python, we have test cases, and different things. I'm just waiting for it to finish. It takes like maybe a minute or two to do this. Let me just click here. it takes time. I don't know. I hope demo gods are happy with me. They were okay with me so far. Okay. Maybe it's not working. So let me just go to one. It should work. Let me just click on again, see what's happening. But what we have done is we have taken all these things and then we have connected it with the Jira story. So what we have done here is, and I'm going to switch to my other Jira story, which is very similar. I used it for practicing. So what we do is we kind of look at the story and then create a auto checklist, which shows you how many things you have done in the story and what you missed. So we generate this auto checklist and we also add those comments in the Jira story here. So what needs to happen. Let me see what happened here right now, because I wanted to show you some other feature. It's still going on. But so what we have done here is we have connected the changes in the pull request to the Jira story and telling you hey, you missed this or you need to improve on this. So that's the power again of AI here. And for my last thing, I'm going to show you something very cool feature here. So let me just see where is my Java code? Nope. jQuery controller. Okay. So what we have done is we just put one comment here, like a WX for code. So and I hope we do not have a lot of requests backed up, but in meantime, let me just show you what happens when we do it for so let me try 86. I think 86 is the right number. So same thing, if you can see here, when I say WX for code suggest, it will give me the fixed code right in the context. And this is the summary and Jira analysis I was talking about. And something is not happening here, right? Let me just check my numbers here. 86 or 87. So that's fine. What happens is I was just looking for the fixed code, but I'm gonna show you because GitHub sends you an email when you comment on it. So I got that just before this. So it will give you the full code based on the comments made and the fixes available. So with that, I'm gonna wrap my session here. I just have one last slide to cover. So what are the key takeaways what we are seeing? To do things at scale, to modernization at scale, automation is the key. And EasyJ, Enterprise Application Service for Java, provided that simpler or a faster way to do this. AI, automation and AI is a unique combination which can help you to reduce the time and effort for modernization. WX for code, which is an agentic approach, we can automate the code fixes and make it easier to maintain the large code bases. And the key to success here is always try it with a few applications to start with, and that will benefit you because do not choose just a medium complex applications, choose a more complex applications, have a good mix of it, and you will be able to show early success with that. And last but not least, what you need is a community of developers who are sharing this best practices with each other and helping each other to accelerate the journey. So my last sentence here, which I'm just going to read it. So modernization fosters innovation with business agility, enhances your system security, simplifies your data management, and improves developer productivity. So with that, Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, I'm available on LinkedIn. You can just search by my name. My email ID is jayant.talekar@ibm.com. Please feel free to reach out, and I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you so much.
Jay, thank you very much. Wow, guys, that just goes to show we actually do use what we sell. So this has been an enormous endeavor from an IBM perspective, and we're using the same tools that we're leveraging at many of our customers and looking to leverage at more. So. Guys, we have closed out the main content for TechCon 2025. It flew by. I hope you guys got some really good nuggets of information. There's a lot of new and innovative creation going on in this space. We are here to help and talk in deeper fashion about all of this. We do have, I posted earlier, and there will be links, I'm sure, throughout that we have an in-person event in Orlando in October, the 6th through the 9th, which is our Tech Exchange event. Please join us in person there if you can. In the meantime, we have one more office hours session starting in 9 minutes from now. And that is a session where you guys can jump on, and the presenters from throughout the day today will be on there to answer questions live. If you didn't have a chance to get a question in the chat, or still have some questions that have popped up between then and now, please join us in that final session here in 9 minutes. Otherwise, thank you so much for attending, spending some of your time with us. We hope it's been valuable. Please take a minute to close out the exit survey. Let us know how we did, what you'd like to see more of, what didn't work for you. We're always looking for ways to improve this experience for our customers. So with that, this is Andy Harmon, the track host for the application development and runtimes track, signing out for 2025. Again, office hours start in 8 minutes. So thank you so much. Jay, thank you again for walking us through that IBM CIO office example of leveraging our transformation tools along with Watson Code Assistant. Hope to see many of our customers in Orlando, and continue to engage in the Tech Exchange community and directly. Thank you so much.